Hello everybody, welcome back. History with Hilbert here, bringing you another video, this time about the flags of the American Civil War. Previously I made a video going through the entire American Civil War. It's about 50 minutes long, so if you think you can withstand hearing me talk for 50 minutes, then please go and have a look at that one. Just scroll through my videos and you should find it. But today, as I said, we're going to be having a look at the flags of the American Civil War, what they meant, what they represented, and sort of how they changed as time went on. And it's quite an interesting study, and I thought that's why I'd make it into an entire video, because there is quite a lot to learn about the different vexillology which was involved in this 4-year war. So, first of all, we are going to have a look at the Confederate flags in the war. Now, this is the first Confederate flag that was made, and as you can see, there are 7 stars representing Louisiana, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Mississippi. Just as in the modern American flag, how there are 50 stars which represent the 50 states, it's just the same thing on the Confederate flag with the stars representing the states, although initially these were the states that seceded and formed the Confederacy, which are why there are 7 stars representing 7 states. However, as the war went on, Virginia and Arkansas also joined the Confederacy, and then they had to change the flag to keep it up to date with the new stars, with the new states joining. So they added 2 more stars. So now there are 9 stars on the Confederate flag. However, soon there were more states joining the Confederacy, notably Tennessee, North Carolina. And then they had to add, again, another 2 stars. So you see how the Confederate flag kept changing during this time. Now it changed once more into the final design, which had 13 stars. 11 for the states that voted to secede from the Union, and 2 for Missouri and Kentucky, where there were a lot of Confederates, although in these 2 states the Confederates never actually really had much of a hold on power because they were soon driven out by the Unionists, whereas in the other states they really did completely take over the state and then join the Confederacy. Now the name of this flag is the Stars and Bars, and if you think about the American flag, that's often called the Stars and Stripes because of today there are 50 stars and there are 13 stripes along the side. And the 13 stripes are representing the 13 colonies that first rebelled against Britain, which is why it's called the Stars, because obviously you have the stars and the stripes. Now this Confederate flag was called the Stars and Bars because there are stars representing the 13 states that seceded from the Union, and the bars instead of stripes. As you can see, there are 2 red bars and 1 white bar. However, the Stars and Bars soon became unpopular because it was so similar to the Stars and Stripes. And if you think about it, in a battle, if there isn't much wind and the flags aren't flying and they hang sort of limp on the flagpole, then it's really easy to get them confused because they use exactly the same colour. They're pretty much the same shape, and it's just the amount of stripes and the amount of stars and the arrangement of the stars that change. And this caused a lot of friendly fire to happen, and obviously you want to avoid friendly fire in a war because, well, it's generally quite bad for one's health. So in 1863 they actually changed the flag again to this, which is called the Stainless Banner. Now this banner, I can't remember who designed it, I probably should, but the white background represented sort of the white heritage of the South and the white dominance of the South over, say, the North, which was abolitionist at the time, which advocated for the abolition of slavery. Now, obviously, you have the white, but the bit which grabs your attention is the bit on the very left of the flag in the top left corner, which is the battle flag. And as you might know, if you have been keeping up with sort of the news and, I don't know, social media over the past year, then you will know that this flag, or at least a variant of this flag, has caused quite a lot of controversy. There was a whole campaign, the Heritage Not Hate campaign, and there was lots of people likening this to the Nazi swastika and other symbols of hate, and then there were people defending it, saying, well, it's part of our heritage, it's part of remembering the Confederates who died in the Civil War. But I'm not going to get into any of that really. I'm just here for the flags part, and this battle flag again, it represents the states as the stars on the flag. But there are different versions of this flag, so we're going to have a quick look at the origin of the battle flag. Now this is the battle flag, the more common version, and this was in fact the Navy Jack. The one you just saw was carried into battle by the regiments, which was why it was a different size, or a different ratio rather, to this naval jack, which could hang on a ship. And when you're taking it into battle, it's easier to have a slightly smaller, more square-shaped flag, because obviously you're being shot at and you might need to actually use the flag, or rather the flagpole, to attack someone or defend yourself with. So it's not really very useful to have a great big flag, that's flapping around in the wind while you're being attacked. So, as I said previously, the stars on the flag represented the amount of states which had seceded from the Union. Although there are 13 stars on this flag, 11 states managed to successfully secede from the Union, and the other two, Missouri and Kentucky, definitely tried to. So it's pretty much the same idea as on the Union or the American flag or the United States flag. Now, the blue cross shape is actually a saltire, and those of you who know the flag which I've just put up, it's the Scottish flag, and the colouring system is pretty similar. It's slightly darker blue, but the origin does actually go back to this Scottish flag, because a lot of the Southerners who obviously fought for the Confederacy because they were the South, had Scottish ancestry, and they wanted to show this Scottish ancestry. So when they designed this battle flag, they went back to this saltire design, and they used this. And finally, the red on the flag, it symbolises the valour and the courage of the Confederate soldiers, who aren't afraid to shed their blood for their southern ground and for what they believe is right. And this flag was favoured a lot more than the stainless banner, which was the other one which had the battle flag just in the corner, because the white seemed to resemble submission. And as I was saying with the stars and bars, when it's hanging limp, you wouldn't see the ensign, so the Union soldiers thought, well, isn't that just a surrendering flag then? Because it's just a white flag if you can't see the other ensign. So that's why this flag became a lot more popular. And in the picture you can see another variant of it. Now, a lot of the regimental flags, which I will get onto soon, also went back to this sort of design, and a lot of the regimental flags are just various Confederate flags with bits added into it. Now, they actually changed the flag again to the bloodstained banner, which is like the stainless banner, except they added in this red stripe. And it was several months before the end of the war, and it was, as it said, to avoid Federals or Northerners thinking that the flag was a surrendering flag, because obviously if it was hanging limp on the flagpole, it looks like a white flag. But with this red stripe, it doesn't look like that, because obviously you can see that it has another colour on it. And the reason they added this red bloodstain, as they called it, which is why this flag is called the bloodstained banner, is partially because the red stripe represents the French connection, and a lot of Southerners, especially living in Louisiana, which is obviously a French name, because the French used to own Louisiana, Upper and Lower Louisiana, and it goes back to this heritage. So, like the blue of the saltire, that goes back to the Southern heritage. A lot of the Southern banners go back to a heritage that maybe puts them apart from the Northerners, which is why they added this red striping, which is obviously also on the red, white, and blue flag of France. Now, there were also other Confederate flags. This one here is called the Bonnie Blue Flag, and obviously if you know anything about Scotland, you know that they'll describe things as being bonny, which means pretty. So that also goes back to the Scottish ancestry of a lot of the Southerners. And this flag is actually quite a lot older than the American Civil War. It was first used when the Republic of West Florida seceded from Spain and then joined the Union of America in 1810, probably to protect them from the Spanish, because Florida used to be a Spanish colony. That's why I think a lot of the names, like Saint Augustine or Augustina, or I'm not sure exactly what the name is, but that was a Spanish city, and Florida was for a while. I think the name Florida as well is probably Spanish, but that was a Spanish colony. But then this flag went back to there. Although I believe that the star was a yellow star initially, but then different designs and probably the availability of dyes led to the star becoming white, which was the colour used in the American Civil War. Now, the flag in the middle here is the state flag of South Carolina, or at least it was during the American Civil War. And it's a lot like the Virginian battle flag, which was the battle flag shown on the previous page. with its colours and with its design, although instead of having the blue saltire, it has a blue cross, because Virginia comes from virgin, which means someone who hasn't had sex before, and that relates back to Queen Elizabeth, who was called the Virgin Queen. And that's why Virginia, when the English settlers, I think they colonized Jamestown first in the province of what is now Virginia, they called it Virginia to honor the Queen of England at the time, who was Elizabeth. So this is, they have this cross, which is like the one on the English flag, the red cross of St. George on the English flag, which goes back to them having an English rather than a Scottish heritage. Now, the Cherokee nations, obviously the Cherokee are a Native American tribe. They fought their own civil war at the same time as the American Civil War, because some of them sided with the Union and others sided with the Confederacy. They had a very, very clever and good fighter, and I don't believe he was the chief, but I think he became chief or war chief of the tribe, called Stand-Watie, and he actually achieved the highest rank of a Native American ever in the American Civil War, and he was very famous for his ingenious guerrilla tactics and daring raids against the North. I'm actually going to be doing a video about other Native Americans in the American Civil War, so if you're interested, stay tuned for that one. A quick note about the flag as well. I actually had to make this flag. I think I made it on paint, because the only other image of this flag was a photo of an actual existing flag, but I've done my best to replicate it. And as you can see, it's just the stars and bars with Cherokee Braves in the middle, with the extra 5 stars in the center, which are red. Now, I think that those might represent the different clans in the Cherokee nations, but I might be wrong about that one, but that would be my guess. Now, finally, we also have the regimental flags, which I mentioned earlier. Now, as well as having the national flags, each regiment would carry a regimental standard into battle. There were a number of reasons for this. Generals could see who was who on the battlefield, because especially at the start of the war, not all Southerners wore grey, and not all Southerners wore blue. You had Southerners wearing blue coats, because I think there was a capture of a fort or a depot in the south of northern clothing, so a lot of Southerners were equipped with northern clothing, but obviously that's confusing on a battlefield because you don't know who to shoot at. There were also other colours, like I think the militia in the north often wore grey at the beginning of the war, and some of the southern troops wore green as well. So at the Battle of Bull Run, it wasn't blue against grey, it was rather, a whole cacophony of colours, which was really confusing. So these flags sort of helped with this. And it was often hard to tell who was who, as I said, especially in the chaos and the smoke of battle. Now, the flags were often sewn by women in the community and were presented at public ceremonies. So the making of the flags was a symbol of home for the soldiers. So if you're away fighting, you would remember, when you're fighting under this flag, this is what I'm fighting for. These are my people, my granny knitted this flag, or my wife, or my sweetheart, or whoever helped knit this flag, and it helped them remind them of home. Now, losing a flag in battle brought disgrace to a regiment, so units did all they could to protect them. At Miller's cornfield at the Battle of Antietam, a Texas veteran recorded, "As one flag bearer would fall, another would seize the flag, until 9 men had fallen beneath the colours." And this just goes to show the dedication of troops to keep their flags from falling into enemy hands. And actually, the 1st Texas, which was the regiment in which this veteran served, lost 80% of its men in the cornfield. And I'll wager that quite a lot of that percentage came from men trying to stop the enemy gaining their battle flag. Well, we've come to the end of another video, this one about the flags of the American Civil War. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you're not getting sick of the American Civil War already, because I've made 2 of them now and I still plan to do a few others. But there are plenty more videos coming on other topics like the Vikings, the Anglo-Saxons, the Middle Ages as well, I've got a lot more things coming. So please do let me know how you found this video and the other one if you've watched it. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. This has been History with Hilbert, and I'll be joining you again soon. Thank you for watching.